You'll never believe what happened today. Someone on the internet was wrong. Or at least I didn't agree with them. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of My Mental Breakdown, where I'm just, kind of a little bit upset. I'm not exactly mad, because, whatever, but you'll understand the more we get into this video. So I just got home from work. I probably look fucking sweaty, and this light is super overexposed. Hold on, let me actually turn that down. Okay, so I just get home from work, and I see that Linus and his team have uploaded a review of the ROG Ally, which, if you don't know, is supposedly a competitor to the Steam Deck. But here's the thing about the video, I'm actually not, upset with the video at all, or the review at all. The review is actually quite well made. You know, Linus and his team, I don't know if they've perfected the review formula on YouTube, but I really appreciate what they're doing with it. No, the whole reason I'm making this video is because of one single offhand comment that Linus, or whoever the fuck wrote this video, I'm actually going to check the credits to see who was credited as a writer for this. Some offhand remark that they put in when comparing the ROG Ally software-wise to the Steam Deck. I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you right now.
And the ability to install apps the same way that you would on a regular desktop computer. You want Discord? Simple.
Is it simple? Okay. Fuck. Alright, so I've dedicated the past 2 years of- Hi, welcome to the channel if you're new. I've dedicated the past 2 years of my life to basically switching everything in my workload to Linux. And I don't recommend everybody to do that, right? There are people out there that Linux just will not work for them. I'm sure a vast majority of people would be fine with a fucking Chromebook, right? Linux is not for everybody, but I figured that this one aspect of Linux would be widely agreed upon to be just fundamentally better than how it works on Windows. The concept of a package manager. Alright, so what the fuck is a package manager? Okay, fuck, gee, there's so much I have to explain to this. Okay, so let's say you want to install OBS on your system, and you are running Windows. You're running Windows on one system and Linux on the other one. Alright, installing OBS, something as seemingly simple as that, is vastly different between the two ecosystems. On Linux, you would use something called a package manager. As the name suggests, it is a program that manages packages. It's kind of easy to understand. But what's a package? For the sake of this video, because there's a whole lot more we could go into, we're just going to simplify it and say that a package is a program. I know that there's more to it. I know that there's things like libraries and other bullshit attached to it. But for the sake of this video, a package is a program. So already, just this disclaimer of what actually a fucking package is, you can kind of understand why it's important to have a one-stop shop solution to managing all the different flavors and different types and all the different whatevers of all the packages in your system. And when I say all of them, I fucking mean all of them. Programs and libraries that make those programs work, and a bunch of other shit, background stuff, the kernel of Linux itself. All of it's just a package. It's just a file in your system. So I'm going to describe the 4 main things that a package manager does on a Linux system. You can browse, you can install, you can uninstall, and you can update packages. That's all you need to do with a package manager. Now, just these 4 things that I labeled here are so unbelievably convoluted and just inefficient on Windows that it kind of boggles my mind that anyone out there with half of a fucking IQ would look at these 2 different ways of managing software in your system and think that the worst one is the better one. And I mean objectively worse. Okay, let's take this step by step in Windows. I mentioned earlier, hey, you want to install OBS on your system. Okay, if you're running a Windows system, like most of you out there probably are, you're going to install OBS in this way. You decide that you want it. You go on your web browser of choice. Most people are going to pick Chrome. You go on the OBS website, you download the installer, you run the installer, then the installer is kind of just still there in your downloads folder, so you got to delete that later. But after all of that stuff, you have OBS on your system. Now that is kind of simple. You just get the thing from the people who made the thing, and then you run it on your thing, and it make the thing happen, right? Does that make any sense at all? Probably not. Now here is how you install OBS on a Linux-based system. You go into your package manager, you type OBS, and you hit install, and it does it for you. Let's also think about, okay, so installing, vastly more efficient. At least in my opinion, whatever. Let's also think about uninstalling programs. Let's say in the future I want to uninstall OBS for whatever reason. I don't fucking know why you would want to uninstall it, but there's use cases for it. If you want to uninstall it, you would need to either run the uninstall program, like some certain pieces of software do. I actually forget how OBS does it. Or more likely, you would type uninstall in your like little Windows search bar down there, and it would take you to the uninstall a program window, and there you can actually uninstall the pieces of software that's on your system. So you have your own dedicated window to uninstall programs, but not one to install programs. And by the way, neither of those two things are in the same window. And of course, you can just go to your fucking package manager on Linux and just say, I don't want this anymore, uninstall, and it gets rid of it. Okay, but let's say you want to update OBS, right? Either you'd have to wait for the fucking update window to pop up, and then OBS would do it, and you have to build like a fucking updater inside of OBS, and that's its own thing, and it just kind of handles it on its own. A little bit annoying, but at least it does it on its own, right? If it somehow manages to not do that for whatever fucked reason, you would need to go back to the OBS website and download the latest version of OBS and install that over your current version, which I actually don't remember if that would install two different versions of OBS. It's been a couple years since I've used Windows. And again, if we're gonna go back to the fucking Linux system, you just go into your fucking package manager and you hit the button to update the fucking piece of software. And then if you want to browse software, good fucking luck doing that on a Windows system, because you're on the fucking high seas of software management. You already have to know that a piece of software exists and isn't malware. But you can use the package manager kind of like an app store, where you can go on and just see what the fuck is on there. And there's plenty of open source apps and games and little doodads and bits and bobs that you can fucking download on your system and just have a good time with. So, like, I am a little bit upset about this situation. I'm gonna throw Linus a bone here, or the writers, or whoever the fuck wrote this video. I'm gonna throw them a little bit of a bone here, and like, try to explain to myself why they would think the way they do. The simple explanation for this is just because they're used to it. It's kind of a weird quirk about human brains, is that even if there is a faster, more efficient way to do something, we're still gonna want to do the thing that is more familiar to us. And genuinely, I do understand this mentality. When I first started using Linux, everything that I would do on this side of the system would just be so fucking annoying. Like, I hated the terminal when I first started using Linux. I honestly didn't like the package manager. It was weird, it was different. I had to like run this program and then find my software on there, instead of like doing the thing that I was more used to. So like, I can understand this little one-off sentence like finding its way into the video, because I would assume that not a lot of people on the writing staff use Linux. I think Anthony's a writer. I think he's the only one who like would regularly use Linux. I don't even know if he's a writer. I don't fucking know how the structural, I don't know what the writing team is like. I would assume that because they're writers, they're probably either using Windows or Mac. All this to say that somehow a random one-off line was snuck into a video that was about a competitor to the Steam Deck that actually does look kind of cool, honestly. And that single line made me get off my fucking ass and made me stop eating my fucking bag of MSG that I can't fucking get rid of because I'm addicted to this shit. Made me get off of all of that and record a fucking video and set up my lights and set up the camera and the microphone and get dressed and do. Thank you, Linus, or whoever wrote this video, for getting me off of my ass.